Have you ever wondered what money really is? Where it comes from, why it exists, and why from time to time everything collapses? Entire civilizations have fallen because of it. Others have risen into empires. And the curious thing is, deep down, money is just an idea, a collective belief that something has value. Today, you're about to journey through centuries of history, from ancient Greece to the 21st century, to understand how money, scarcity, greed, and human ingenuity have shaped the world you live in. This is the story of economics, and perhaps it is also the story of humanity itself. The birth of money. Long before coins and bills existed, trade was simple: direct exchange. A farmer would give grain in return for meat. A craftsman would swap tools for fabrics. But this system soon showed its flaws. Not everyone who has what you want needs what you have. This problem became known as the double coincidence of wants. So came the need for something universally accepted, or common medium of value. Early societies began using commodities that held intrinsic worth: salt, grain, furs, shells, livestock. But transporting them was difficult, storage was limited, and durability was short. The answer came in the form of precious metals. Gold and silver were rare, durable, divisible, and above all, beautiful. And at the time, beauty also meant power. When kings started minting coins, something new happened. Value was no longer just in the metal. It now depended on trust. Trust in the authority that guaranteed the symbol. For the first time, money was not just a physical object. It was a social contract. The evolution of coins. Over time, the system grew more sophisticated. Merchants realized carrying metals was dangerous. So deposit receipts emerged, documents representing gold stored in vaults. These papers began to circulate as if they were gold itself, and thus paper money was born. What started as a simple certificate became a promise. Trust me, there's gold backing this paper. For centuries, coins and notes were backed by precious metals. This system became known as the gold standard. Each note represented a fraction of gold held in a central bank. But growing economies, wars, and crises made the system unsustainable. Governments needed to spend more than they had in reserves. They began printing money without gold backing. By the 20th century, gold lost its throne. Fiat money was born, money that has value simply because everyone believes it does. Its worth relies on trust in the issuer, usually the state, and that trust became the most valuable asset of all. The cycles of the economy. From there, the economy took on a life of its own. It began to pulse in cycles: expansion, euphoria, collapse, and recovery, like waves repeating but never the same. During boom times, easy credit and optimism drive prices up. People believe growth will never end. But overconfidence brings imbalance. When everyone wants to win, few notice the risks. When fear replaces euphoria, the castle falls. History shows this has happened again and again. The tulip mania of the 17th century is one of the earliest records. In the Netherlands, a rare flower became an object of speculation. Prices soared so high that a single tulip could cost as much as a house, until one day nobody wanted to buy anymore. Value plummeted, fortunes vanished. Centuries later, the pattern repeated. The South Sea bubble, the railway mania, the 1929 crash, the dot-com bubble, the 2008 housing crisis. The names change, but the essence is the same: greed, leverage, and overconfidence. Economics is made of numbers, but driven by human emotion. The market and the invention of capital. With the advance of trade, something revolutionary emerged: the capital market. Companies began dividing ownership into shares, small tradable pieces of value. This allowed funding for massive ventures: ships, railways, industries, technology. Risk and profit were shared, but with progress came excess. During euphoria, stock prices rise faster than company profits. The market trades expectations, not realities. And when expectations fail, collapse follows. Markets crash, companies fail, and optimism turns to panic. Yet the system persists because it represents something essential: a bet on the future. Every share bought is the seed of hope that tomorrow will be more prosperous, and that alone drives civilizations forward. The role of banks. No story about money is complete without banks. They began as simple guardians of wealth, but soon discovered something powerful: the ability to lend more than they actually possessed. If 10 people deposit gold, and only 2 withdraw on the same day, the bank can lend the rest to others. This mechanism creates credit, and credit is the foundation of the modern economy. But it's also a double-edged sword. When optimism reigns, banks overlend. When fear strikes, credit freezes, and the economy halts. What fuels growth in one cycle destroys it in the next. The financial system is essentially a machine of trust. When it breaks, collapse is inevitable. The state, inflation, and crises. To try to control cycles, governments created intervention mechanisms. Interest rates, money printing, fiscal policies. But the line between control and disaster is thin. Inflation, for example, is the classic result of too much money chasing too few goods. When there's too much money and too few products, prices rise, currency loses value, and people lose purchasing power. Many civilizations face the same issue. In ancient Rome, emperors diluted coin metal to fund wars. In the 20th century, countries printed excessive money to cover debts, triggering devastating hyperinflation. Even today, the dilemma persists. How to stimulate growth without eroding money's value? How to balance expansion with stability? There are no definitive answers. But one thing is certain: without credibility, no currency survives. The great modern crises, the 21st century, showed that, despite technology, old mistakes persist. The internet bubble of the 2000s made unprofitable companies worth billions simply on promises of the future. In 2008, the U.S. housing market collapse revealed the dark side of euphoria: unbacked credit, reckless speculation, blind trust in a seemingly infallible system. When banks failed, the whole world felt it. A brutal reminder that the global financial system is interconnected and fragile. Today, new forms of money and investment emerge: cryptocurrencies, digital assets, artificial intelligence. Modern expressions of the same ancient pursuit: freedom, control, and hope of profit. Yet the risks remain the same. Behind every chart lies human behavior: greed, fear, optimism, panic. The tool changes. Human nature does not. The future of money. Money began as a piece of metal, became paper, then digital code. Today it's almost invisible, a string of bits stored on servers, but its essence remains: trust. As long as people believe something has value, it will continue to circulate. The future may bring decentralized currencies, virtual banks, algorithmic economies, but no technology eliminates the human factor. Collective psychology is still the engine of it all. And perhaps that is the greatest lesson of economic history. To understand money is to understand ourselves, our ambitions, our fears, and our eternal desire to believe that tomorrow will be better than today. Economics is not an exact science. It's a story of decisions, successes, and tragedies. A story that repeats because the protagonist never changes: human beings. And if there's one thing that never changes, it's our ability to create, dream, fail, and start over. Money is merely the mirror of all this, the reflection of the trust we place in each other. Understanding this is understanding why the world works the way it does, and why sometimes it collapses. Thank you for watching. If this journey through the story of money made you think, reflect, or see the world a little differently, that means it did its job. The truth is, we're all part of this story. Every choice, every risk, every act of trust, it all shapes the system we live in. If you'd like to keep exploring the ideas that move our world from history to the future, make sure to subscribe and join this growing community of curious minds. Your support means a lot. See you in the next chapter.